Hey, Bullfrogs. All right, so chapter 8 is where we left off yesterday. And remember, the title of chapter 8 is Wings. And so we're going to see what's about to happen with his great flying machine. Let's see if Jack and Annie can help save the day for Leonardo da Vinci. All right, chapter 8. Annie held up the wand. "Close your eyes, Leonardo," she said. Leonardo just shook his head. "Please," said Annie, "just for a second." Leonardo put his head in his hands. "Listen," said Annie. "This morning you said that a great artist has to combine observation with imagination." Leonardo barely nodded. "Well, watch out, because this is the imagination part," said Annie. She waved the wand at Leonardo, then at herself and Jack. Counting her words on her fingers, she said in a loud, clear voice, "Make us fly like birds." Leonardo's arms whipped out to his sides. They sprouted long grayish feathers. He let out a yelp. The next thing Jack knew, his arms had turned into feathery wings too. So had Annie's. "What's happening?" cried Leonardo. "Wings," said Annie. Jack's wings felt light and airy, yet strong and powerful. "Now we can fly," said Annie. "Wings?" said Leonardo, looking stunned. Then he burst out laughing. "We have wings! We have wings! Run, run into the wind!" Jack, Annie, and Leonardo all stretched out their wings and took quick steps forward. The wind rushed under their feathers and lifted them off the ground. "Whoa!" cried Leonardo. Leonardo, Jack, and Annie flapped their wings and soared high into the sky. Then they caught a gentle wind and stopped flapping. Twisting this way and that, they glided in a big circle above the countryside. Jack felt as light as the wind. His heart beat wildly. "Incredible, huh?" yelled Annie. "Best flying ever!" shouted Jack. Jack and Annie had flown lots before. They'd flown on a dragon, on a bicycle, on a winged lion, on a magic carpet, and on the back of a white stag in Camelot. They'd even flown as ravens over a haunted castle. But this was the first time they'd ever flown on their own, just as themselves. "Follow me!" cried Leonardo. He tilted his wings and flew out of the circle. Jack and Annie flew after him. They all swooped high up over the quiet hills and glided through the low clouds. The cool, wet mist blew against Jack's face. He felt as if he were swimming through the sky, as if the clouds were water keeping him afloat. Laughing and whooping with delight, Leonardo led Jack and Annie out of the clouds and down over the yellow meadows and the pale green olive groves. "Hello!" Leonardo shouted to farmers plowing a field, but the farmers didn't look up. "Hello!" he called to grape pickers working in a vineyard, but they didn't look up either. No one on the ground looked up, but all the birds in the sky seemed to take notice. Birds cawed and swooped near them, as if welcoming them to their world. Birds flew alongside them and spread out in front of them, leading them over the city walls of Florence. Jack, Annie, and Leonardo circled with the birds over the sea of red-tiled roofs, over the great dome of the cathedral, and over the bell tower of the palace of the great council. Florence looked so neat and orderly from up here. Leonardo cried to Jack and Annie. "I wished I had my sketchbook." All right, here's an awesome picture. I'll give you a moment to look at that. The city did look orderly from the sky, thought Jack. The busy market, with its rows of stalls and tents, the narrow lanes with the brightly colored clothes waving from clotheslines, the long covered bridge, the winding, sparkling river. Jack, Annie, and Leonardo soared with the birds back over the city walls, out to the countryside. They glided over the olive groves and vineyards. Then they circled above the spot where Leonardo's great bird lay broken in the grass. The bird swooped up and vanished behind the clouds. Leonardo, Jack, and Annie glided down toward the ground. They opened their wings wide and then gently and easily. Their feet touched the grass. Their wings fluttered with tiny beats, and the three of them took quick hopping steps before coming to a full stop. When Jack, Annie, and Leonardo were steady on their feet, their long feathers disappeared and their bird wings became arms again. Leonardo looked dazed. He stared up at the sky. Then he staggered a few steps and fell face down into the grass. "Leonardo?" asked Annie. "Oh no," thought Jack. "He's had a heart attack." "Leonardo?" said Annie. She knelt down near him. Leonardo rolled over and stared up at Jack and Annie. What just happened?" he stammered. "Did we fly? Did we really fly? Or was it a dream?" Well, Jack didn't know what to say. To explain the wand to Leonardo, they'd have to start way back at the very beginning, with the treehouse, Morgan, Merlin, Teddy, Kathleen, Dianthus. It would take forever. "Well," said Annie, "one day, a long time ago, we were playing in the woods and we saw—" "Annie," Jack shook his head. Annie frowned. "I guess it can't really be explained," she said. Leonardo looked up at the sky. No, he said. "I think you're right. Perhaps some things should remain mysteries and are better kept in our hearts. We should not try to explain them." That's an amazing statement, Jack thought, from a person who always tries to explain everything. "But if I had to explain it, I would explain it this way," said Leonardo. He leapt to his feet. "For years, I wrote down all my observations of bird flight. I made hundreds of drawings. These things helped me build my flying machine. But in the end, something was missing. Something very important." "What?" asked Annie. "The spirit of a bird," said Leonardo. "A bird is not just a machine. A bird has a spirit. And with the two of you, I somehow gained that spirit, if only for a short time, and if only in my imagination. We all became more bird than human." "And did the spirit of the bird mend your heart?" Annie asked. Leonardo smiled. "Yes, my heart is mended now. I am ready to leave this dream behind and move on to others. And it does not matter that the world will never know of my great triumph. So maybe fame isn't the secret of happiness," said Jack. "Well, absolutely not," said Leonardo. "I know that now. We must do what we do to satisfy our own hearts. For instance, I am working on a painting now. I love it. I do not care if others see it. Oh no. What time is it?" He jerked his head around to look at the sun. "I must go. I will be late." "Well, late for what?" said Annie. "To meet my model at the studio," said Leonardo. "The woman I am painting in the portrait I was just talking about. We must return." Jack and Annie and Leonardo hurried back to the cart and climbed in. Leonardo snapped the reins, and the white horse started clomping back toward Florence. Here's a picture. We're heading back. Chapter 9 is called The Smile. At first, no one spoke on the trip back. It was as if they didn't want to break the spell of joy that had settled over them. Even though Jack was bumping up and down on the cart, he could still remember the feeling of flying smoothly through the sky. He could feel the wind rustling his long feathers. The cart passed through a gate in the city walls. As they started through the streets, Annie broke the silence. "So, if fame is not the secret of happiness," she said to Leonardo, "then what is? Do you think it could be flying?" Leonardo thought for a moment. No, the secret of happiness cannot be flying," he said. "Why not?" asked Jack. "Because flying is a great dream that no one but us will ever realize," said Leonardo. "Surely happiness can be only for us." "True," said Annie. "So what do you think the secret is?" asked Jack. Leonardo was silent. Then he sighed. "I must think about it," he said. Jack looked worriedly at the sky. The sun would go down soon and night would come. According to the rhyme, they were supposed to leave when the night bird sang its song. How long do you think it'll take you to think about that? Think about it, Jack asked. I do not know, said Leonardo. Right now, all I know is that I must hurry to meet with my model. She is already unhappy enough without my being late. Why is she unhappy? Asked Annie. She will not say, said Leonardo. Perhaps she is tired of posing for me. For 3 years she has been sitting for her portrait. Whoa, that's a really long time, said Annie. Especially if you're just sitting. Yes, it is, said Leonardo. Lately she will not even smile. She only stares at me sadly. I've tried hiring singers, musicians, and jokesters to amuse her, but nothing helps. Maybe you shouldn't meet with her today, said Jack. He didn't want Leonardo to lose his good feelings from flying, and he wanted him to spend time thinking about the secret of happiness. No, I must, said Leonardo. The light is perfect today. Late afternoon is the best time for painting a portrait. In my courtyard, when the sunlight is golden and shadows are beginning to fall. Shadows were falling as the white horse pulled the cart into Leonardo's courtyard. A young woman was standing by the studio door. Lisa, called Leonardo. Hello, Leonardo, the woman said. She wore a gown with a silk cloth over her shoulder. A thin veil covered her long brown hair. She had a high forehead and large brown eyes. Oddly, she looked like someone Jack knew, but he couldn't remember who. Forgive me, Lisa, I am late, said Leonardo, leaping down from the cart. Will you wait for me to set up my things? Yes, I will wait, said Lisa. Leonardo hurried inside, and Jack and Annie climbed down from the cart. Hi, we're Jack and Annie, said Annie. The woman smiled at them. I am Lisa, she said. You look familiar to me, said Annie. Really? Said Lisa. Are you from Florence? No, we're from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, said Annie. It's far away. Lisa smiled again. I like the name of your town, she said. So Lisa did smile for other people, thought Jack. He wondered why she wouldn't smile for Leonardo. Leonardo came back outside carrying a small canvas, an easel, and a paint box. He then brought out a stool for Lisa. She sat down and folded her hands. Leonardo placed the canvas on his easel as he prepared his paints. Jack and Annie looked at his painting in progress. Nice, breathed Annie. The small canvas showed the model Lisa except for her mouth. Her whole face had been painted. In the background was a misty landscape with mountains and winding rivers. Leonardo picked up his brush, dipped it into a paint jar, and began to work. Jack and Annie watched closely as the great genius brushed a thin coat of green paint over the scenery. What are you doing now? Whispered Annie. I paint many very thin coats over the background, murmured Leonardo. This casts a soft green light over everything, so it all blends together like smoke, and you cannot tell light from shadow. How'd you figure that out? Asked Annie. I mean, you're always coming up with new ways to do things. How did you do that? I asked questions, said Leonardo. All the time, I ask questions. How can I paint the light? How can I capture the shadows? How can I do this? How can I do that? Leonardo stopped painting. He put down his brush and looked at Jack and Annie. His eyes were sparkling. And now, my friends, I know the secret. You do? Said Jack. Yes, said Leonardo. The secret of happiness is available to all of us, every hour of every day. Young, old, rich, poor, everyone can choose to find happiness in this way. How? Asked Annie. What's the secret? She and Jack leaned forward, eager to hear the answer. Curiosity, said Leonardo. Here's a picture. Jack and Annie watching him. Now, I don't know if y'all recognize this picture. Do y'all know what this is? Her name is Lisa. Does that give you a hint? Does that give you a clue? Curiosity, repeated Jack. He had curiosity. He had lots of it. Always ask questions, said Leonardo. Always try to learn something new. Ask why, when, where, what. Say, I wonder what this means. I wonder how that works. I wonder what this person is like, and that person, and that one. I'm always searching for answers to things I do not understand. Me too, said Jack. And so I look forward to each new day, each spring and summer and fall and winter and all the months and years ahead. Because there is so much to discover, said Leonardo. Me too, said Annie. Through my curiosity, I forget my failures and my sorrows, and I feel great happiness, said Leonardo. He looked up at the sky. For instance, one might wonder how they build that 8-sided dome on top of the cathedral. I do wonder that, said Jack. And I wonder what exactly makes the clouds change shape, said Annie. And what makes bread crackly on the outside and soft on the inside, asked Jack. Are there really just 10 types of noses, said Annie. How many kinds of ears are there, said Jack. How many kinds of feet? Hands, said Jack. Eyebrows, said Jack. Their two voices spilled over each other as they kept calling out questions. And who rings the bell in the bell tower? Why is the sky blue? Where do city birds sleep? And why won't Lisa smile for Leonardo? Asked Annie. Jack and Leonardo looked at Annie. They all turned around and looked at Lisa. Jack had actually forgotten she was sitting near them. The quiet, lovely woman blinked. What? What did you say? Why won't you smile for Leonardo, Lisa? Why won't you smile for Leonardo, Lisa? Asked Annie. Are you mad at him because you've been posing for 3 years? Lisa's face grew red. She seemed to be fighting tears. She shook her head. Is there another reason? Annie asked softly. Lisa looked at Leonardo. He was staring back at her. Yes, she whispered, there is. What is it? Annie asked. I'm afraid to smile, said Lisa. She kept staring at Leonardo, though she was talking to Annie. If I smile, Leonardo will paint my smile, and he will be done with me. He will sell my portrait to my family and never think of me again. There was silence for a moment. Jack and Annie looked at Leonardo. Annie, said Leonardo finally, staring at Lisa, tell Lisa that if she will smile, I will finish her portrait, but tell her that I will not sell it to her family. I will carry it with me wherever I go for the rest of my life, and I will never forget her. Lisa, Leonardo says that, she started Annie, but Lisa stopped her. I heard, she said softly. Then she smiled. It was a faint smile, but a mysterious and beautiful one. Her face glowed in the golden light of the late afternoon. Ah, gasped Leonardo. Keep that smile, he said. He kept staring at Lisa as he dipped his paintbrush into a jar. Please keep that smile, Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa? Jack had heard the name Mona Lisa before. Lisa, keep smiling, Leonardo painted. Hey, listen, Annie said to Jack. Jack listened. He heard a bird whistling and trilling. A plain brown bird was singing from the rooftop above the courtyard. That looks like the bird you let out of the cage, said Jack. It is him, whispered Annie. He is a nightingale, said Leonardo, keeping his eyes on Lisa. A beautiful singer, yes? Annie smiled at Jack. Time to go, she said. Remember Morgan's rhyme. Help the genius till the night bird sings its song. Right, said Jack, sighing. Goodbye, Leonardo. Leonardo didn't seem to hear him. Goodbye, Lisa, said Annie. Lisa turned her eyes to look at Jack and Annie. Bye, she whispered. Then Leonardo turned and looked at them, too. Yes, goodbye, my friends, he said. Come again soon, please. You have been a great help to me today. You helped us too, said Annie. Leonardo bowed to them. Then he turned back to his work. He painted Lisa's smile as the nightingales sang on. The bird's song grew louder and louder until it seemed to fill the Florence night. Okay, I love this book. It's so, so good. All right, so chapter 10, we'll finish chapter 10 tomorrow. That'll be the very last chapter, and then I'll tell you about the new book that we're going to start next week. All right, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye.